Welcome to the Menopause Conversations podcast. This is the place where we have those important discussions that every woman who's going through the menopause transition needs to be a part of. We'll be talking about the symptoms that you're experiencing, the other things that are going on in your life, the way you feel about menopause, and most importantly, how it is possible to thrive in this stage of life and beyond. So join me as I share our latest episode with you. Bye for now. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Menopause Conversations podcast. It is fantastic to have you here. My name is Angela Council, your host for this podcast. And I'm a little bit late putting this podcast out this week because my energy levels have been really, really low because I have been sick. And there's nothing worse when you just don't have the energy to do things. And for me, it was only a temporary thing because I woke up this morning and I'm feeling absolutely fantastic again. But for many women, this is just a way of life, particularly as they come through this menopause transition. I have many women, we've just finished the Embrace program, and I had women that when they started the Embrace program, their energy levels were low, but by the time we got to the end, we saw this big difference in the way they felt and they had their energy back. But it's like, is that you? Do you have low energy? You're not sleeping properly, brain fog, low motivation, you just don't feel like doing anything. And maybe what you do is you wake up first thing in the morning and you need a cup of coffee to keep you going, and then you need a few more to keep you going during the daytime. It's so common and becomes even more common as women come through that menopause transition and their hormones start to shift. So hopefully by the end of today's podcast, you're going to have a little bit of a better understanding of how your body creates energy, and most importantly, some key things that you can do to help your energy levels. So let's just start with, what is energy? Now, energy in itself is actually what is known as an ATP molecule, which is a few chemical molecules put together. So it's adenosine triphosphate, and they all kind of come together and create energy. And when we've got lots of these ATP molecules, we've got lots of energy, we feel great. And this ATP is produced in the mitochondria in your cells. Every cell of your body, except for your blood cells, has mitochondria in it. And they're like little powerhouses that are inside every cell, and they create energy for you. And sometimes these mitochondria can get a little bit damaged and they're not creating as much energy as you like. And some of the key things that damage the mitochondria is stress. So a busy lifestyle. Who knows all about that? Nutrient deficiencies, so not having enough of the right nutrition, and particularly iron is a big one. And many of you have probably had your iron levels tested, and you know that when your iron levels are down, your energy levels down. Also zinc, selenium, iodine, magnesium, vitamin Bs all contribute to creating energy. And another thing you need to consider when your energy levels are down is whether or not your thyroid is working properly, because when women have got low thyroid function, their energy levels come down as well. And, the thyroid is dependent on iodine and selenium for healthy functioning, which is why they're the two of the nutrients that I mentioned. And the other thing that can damage your mitochondria is toxicity. And these are the everyday chemicals that we're being exposed to. I think there's, on average, women are exposed to 200 different chemicals every single day with the amount of personal care products that they're using. Now, I don't wear makeup or a lot of that stuff, so someone's taking my share up. So it's like all of that could be impacting your energy. Have you ever thought about that? Maybe the makeup that you're putting on every day, and I'm not saying don't wear makeup. There are other options. Maybe some of the personal care products you're using is actually contributing to lowered energy. But then we've got to look at other chemicals, cleaners and things like that. And the really big one that is very, very commonly used by women in, 45 and above, and that is alcohol. Sorry, ladies, alcohol impacts your energy. It is a poison in the body. It's a toxin. So that's kind of a little bit of a overview of what energy is, what mitochondria does, and so I'm going to talk to you now about what we can do to protect your mitochondria so that you can produce more energy. But just before I do, I want to bust one big myth, and that is the myth that caffeine gives you more energy. It doesn't. What caffeine does is when you drink coffee, primarily, you actually trigger the adrenal glands to release some adrenaline. So it's actually the adrenaline that's giving you the energy, and it's kind of changing the way your body functions. So it seems like it's got more energy. And then what happens shortly after, as the effects wear off, your energy levels go back lower than what they started. And the reason for this is the molecule in caffeine is very similar to the adenosine molecule that's made from energy. So that contributes to energy. And so what happens is we have receptors on all of our cells. And when you drink caffeine, the caffeine actually goes into these adenosine receptors to take up the place of adenosine. And so the body thinks that receptor is full, but it's not full of adenosine, and it needs adenosine to produce that energy. So really what caffeine is doing is blocking your ability to make your energy naturally. So I'm really sorry about that, but that's a real big myth that's around that coffee gives you more energy. What it does is it actually triggers your adrenal glands to produce adrenal hormones, which imitate increased energy, but actually lower your energy even lower. And that actually has ongoing effects. If you've heard me speak before, you know that I often share that your adrenal glands have the capacity to produce a lower level of reproductive hormones as you come through the menopause transition. And if your adrenal glands are consistently releasing adrenal hormones, that because you're drinking coffee all the time to get your energy up, it's not able to produce those reproductive hormones. So it's almost a catch-22. Coffee is not your friend. I know you think it is, but it's not your friend, a bit like alcohol. I know I'm being really, really Nelly bad news today, aren't I? But this is about you feeling great and what you can do to naturally increase your energy so that you can actually do the things that you want to do. So I've given you the bad news. I've given you some information. So what can we do about all of this? Well, let's just start with nutrition, because I told you that the mitochondria, if it doesn't get the right nutrition, it's unable to produce energy. So we start with food. That's the easiest place to start. Eating nutrient-dense foods. So these are plant foods. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be a vegetarian or a vegan. I'm not saying that at all. But make sure you're getting a good variety of plant foods, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, all different colours. And if you're getting that every single day, you'll be able to start getting the nutrition. Then also get your iron levels checked. Particularly if you're bleeding really heavy, it's very, very common for women in this stage of life to have low energy levels, often due to heavier bleeding. And the thing with heavier bleeding is the more you bleed, the lower your iron levels get. The lower your iron levels get, the more you bleed. So it's kind of like this ongoing circle that just keeps going on. So get your iron levels checked, and if your iron levels are low or your ferritin levels are low, then look at supplementing with a good quality iron. And just be careful that some of the cheaper irons out in the marketplace can cause constipation. So one that's a bisglycinate type of iron is generally better and safer for your tummy. Drinking more water. It's as simple as that. Are you drinking enough water? When we've got enough water in our body, then blood can circulate, and blood carries oxygen to the brain. And when we get oxygen to the brain, then we can start to think clearer and we start to feel better. So making sure you're drinking enough water. Now, it doesn't have to be just water in a bottle. You can add some lemon if you want to change the flavour, some lemon or some lime juice or something like that. herb teas, just be careful of herb teas. Most herb teas are fine. Some are diuretic, which actually makes you pee more. Caffeine makes you pee more. So, but making sure you're getting enough water every day. And what's enough? Well, it's different for everyone. It depends on where you start. But, start to listen to your body. And when you're drinking, if you start at approximately 2 litres of water a day, so make sure you've got some water bottles around that's got about 2 litres, that you've always got water available to you. So start there and see how your body starts to respond. And yes, maybe if you're not used to it, you will go to the toilet a little bit more to start with, but that settles itself down within a few days. Also, reducing processed and high sugar foods, because number one, there's not a lot of nutrition in these foods. Even if they add nutrients back in, we've added iron and added this and added that, they're not the form of nutrients that our body easily absorbs. So kind of get away from processed foods and high sugar foods, because not only are many of them toxic, and we want to reduce our toxins, it's also stressful on the body. It is a stress on the body when you're not getting the right type of nutrients, or you're not putting the right food into your body, because the body actually has to kind of do a whole pile of different processing to get rid of that particular food, because it wants to get rid of it as soon as possible. So it is quite toxic to the body. And look, if you can't give up your daily caffeine hit, try by having it a little bit later in the day. Don't start the morning with coffee. Coffee is not a breakfast. It's not breakfast. Now, it's fine for you to skip breakfast, but delay that first coffee until after 10, 11 in the morning, and just see how you notice and how different you notice you feel. Because I have found that women who start to delay that intake of coffee, after a while, actually find they don't need it, because the body is actually producing the energy that you want. So that's all about nutrition. Now, reducing toxins. So, obviously start to look at the personal care products, the cleaning products and that you have around your home. If you've got possibly got mold, where I live, because we get a lot of rain. I live in Queensland, the heat, the rain, there's a lot of mold around. Maybe have a look at that and see whether or not you need to be, if you've got mold in your house, if that needs to be addressed, because that can also be impacting your energy as well. But start looking and replacing some of the products you've got now with low tox options. And there's a great app out called the Yucca app. It's YUKA, and you can get that. There's a free version as well as a paid version, but the free version, you can just scan your different products and it'll give you an idea of whether or not that's a clean product or something that it should be avoided. So it's a great app to have when you go shopping. You can scan it at the supermarket, and it will actually, scan your most popular brands, and it'll give you a rating on whether or not how good that is for you. So reducing the toxins, and as I've already mentioned, alcohol is a toxin in your body. So start to look at reducing your alcohol intake, because it is lowering your energy. And you might think, oh, well, alcohol helps me sleep better. In fact, it doesn't. And I'm actually going to be talking about sleep next week. So, because alcohol interferes with your ability to sleep. So moving on to that, and getting regular sleep patterns. So trying to be in bed, around about 10 p.m. is great, but getting some regularity and consistency in your sleep patterns. But I'll cover more of that off next week when we go into sleep. And also stop overcommitting to everything. If you're doing everything and committing to doing this and this and this for everybody, yes, if you've got limited amount of energy, then that's going to take that energy up. So are there things that you can say no to? Plan out your days and what you're going to be doing in the future. Learn to say no, and no is a complete sentence. You don't have to give reasons for why you're saying no, but practice boundaries. And I find this is a really hard thing for many women. So many women that I work with, it's like they come into the Embrace program. We talk about this. It's like, and practicing boundaries, that once you start to acknowledge what you need and how your body needs to be the best version of itself, then it becomes a little bit easier. But just look, are there some boundaries that you're kind of a little bit lax on, and maybe it needs to be time for you to go, no, these are my boundaries. It's saying no, and you're not saying no to disappoint others, but you say no so that you can be the best version of yourself, so that you can support others. And also be really aware of your self-talk and mindset, because if you wake up in the morning knowing that you've had a really bad night's sleep and you go, oh, I've had a really bad night's sleep, I'm going to be so tired today, I can't do anything. Sorry, it's not a great voice there, but that energy, you feel that energy comes down. But if you wake up going, wasn't a great sleep last night, but that's okay. I'm going to use my energy in a really efficient way today. And there's some things I'm not going to do today because I don't have enough energy. Notice the difference in the mindset, and it makes a really big difference to the way you feel, because when you're really deep, you're sluggish. We've all felt that way, sluggish and not wanting to do anything. So you don't want to be sluggish. It's like, okay, I didn't have a great night's sleep, but I know how I can conserve my energy doing this. Maybe I can have a rest here, but with the energy I've got today, I'm going to do the best I can. So it's lighter and lifts you up more. And I've got a bonus tip. And you might think this is a really, really strange tip to give you, but I'm going to say exercise. You're going to say, but I haven't got any energy to exercise. The thing is, energy creates more energy. So if you exercise, you actually get more energy. Now, you don't have to go and run a marathon, but get up and move your body. And as you move your body, your mitochondria will start to create more energy, which is what we want. We want more energy. So do some exercise. Just do some exercise. Do some movement. Even on the days when you feel like you don't have enough energy, do some movement. Go for a walk out in nature. For me, there's nothing better than getting my energy back out in nature. It's like the trees kind of give their energy to you. And at the moment where I am right now recording this, I'm actually in Byron Bay, and I'm right in the middle of a rainforest. And when I finish recording this, I'm going to go out. I'm going to go and walk amongst the trees to just get the energy. The trees will just give you energy. It's amazing how different you feel when you can get outside in nature. So the invitation is there for you. Just take small steps. What's one small thing that you can do today? Is it drink more water? Is it to go outside and, be in nature, hug a tree? Is it to look at the foods that you're eating and maybe, make better choices? Just start with some small changes. And over time, you're going to start to see that your energy level comes back. It'll come back quite quickly once you start supporting your body. Now, because every one of us, I'm sure you want to be living a healthy and vital life as you age. I heard a statistic the other day, and this is pretty scary, that we in our society, Western society, we don't have a problem with aging. We have really good long lives. We don't have good long quality life. We don't have long health. And 70% of people over the age of 60 will be in poor health and will stay in poor health for the rest of their life. That's so depressing to me. So depressing. I'm 64, or nearly 64. I don't want to be in ill health. I want to be one of the 30%. And to be one of the 30% means starting to look after your health. Be aware of what you're doing. Make better choices. You don't have to be perfect. I'm not perfect. But just start with something small. Making sure you're drinking enough water each day. Spending some time out in nature. Choosing, some fruit over maybe, the sugary sweet. Just start with something simple. Start small and build on it. Thank you so much for joining me this week in the Menopause Conversations podcast. Hopefully you took maybe you took something out of that and learned a little bit more about what energy is, how we create energy, what these little mitochondria are, and you're going to make some decisions that are going to give you more energy. So feel free to share this episode and the podcast with other women who you think might want to learn a little bit more about how to manage your health as you come through the menopause transition. This is a conversation that we all need to be having. Menopause is going to happen to all women, and the more we talk about it, the more we look at what's happening to our body and taking control back and taking responsibility for your own health. when you do that, when all of us do that, we're all going to thrive in menopause together. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back next week. And as I said, next week's episode is going to be all about sleep, the other half of energy. So bye for now.